Yeah, no, I get that, but what I wanted to say was that Sonic is best when you keep the crappy characters to a minimum. Like even Sonic Mania, the new one, like they put in the trailer that it's just Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles,
Oh, that's funny.
which is awesome. Like it's like no, don't worry.
I agree, but at the same time,
No Cream the
the
Bunny.
little bit that I played of Sonic Adventures, I did like most of the added characters. Like I like Amy, I like the robot guy, whatever E102,
Yeah, and
whatever.
some Gamma.
But then they kept adding more and more characters. Now, the other hand, though, I used to read the comics. I think actually, Vice. I read them when we used to hang out, like
Yeah, I
back
still
in
have a
South
lot of
Jersey.
them.
And I read them a lot, and they had actually a lot of other characters in that. But I guess when it comes to the game, you can't really have too many characters to play as. It's more, I guess that might be the big problem, is not necessarily the additional characters for story reasons, but the additional characters for gameplay reasons. Because you can't
Well,
like there's
well,
not much you can do differently than Sonic.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I love Sonic Adventure 1. Like, and I love how you get to see the world from different perspectives and you get to go to different points in the timeline. Like, how come I never saw Chaos Form 3? What happened to Form 3? And it's like, oh, a different character fights him. And that's like super cool. It's like Resident Evil 2. You know, scenario A, you only fight certain forms of William Burke, and scenario B, you find out what the other ones are, and that's awesome. But then you play as Big the Cat, and the entire gameplay is finding a big pond or body of water and fishing for your little frog buddy, and that's the game. Like, and all of a sudden it's like you've gone from going fast to literally not moving and
Yeah,
fishing.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because when I was saying that I liked adventures and the characters, I was going to say except Big the Cat.
I noticed you
didn't
left him
wanna-
out. Yeah, because like Knuckles, you basically gotta go fast. It became more of an explory game in Sonic Adventure 2. Sonic
'Cause
gotta
he
go fast,
climbs,
Tails gotta go
yeah.
fast, even the robot gotta go fast and blow stuff up at the same time. But Big the Cat, nope.
He likes to relax. You know?
I also want to point out that in between, you know, the last couple Sonic games, Freedom Planet got released,
Yeah,
and Freedom Planet is an awesome Sonic game that is not a Sonic game.
it really is.
And-
It's like the
and-
best Sonic game ever made.
And I think Sega took that to heart. I think they may have released Sonic Boom after that, but I think that was more just to advertise for the show.
Yeah, yeah, there was
so-
the show. Yeah,
Yeah, so I don't think that was their serious response to, what fans have been doing to pay homage to Sonic, but I think Sonic Mania is in response to games like Freedom Planet.
now let's just
where-
hope that Nintendo takes the hint from Axiom Verge.
Well, I think Nintendo does its own
Nintendo-
job. They haven't been
Nintendo
super
don't care.
disappointing. Yeah, they don't even like, according to them, their official stance is that they don't play any games other than theirs, which
Yeah.
is complete horseshit. That is not true.
Definitely. Well, it's not true. It might not be true, first of all, but if it was true, that's the
You're
worst
missing.
kind of
I mean,
way
like,
to be.
I do understand the logic
really
of not
dumb.
wanting your purity sullied by like taking inspiration from other games or whatever, but at the same time, like, it's really hard to expand. Like, they made Splatoon and it killed, but like, my God, like, how long was it before they invented like a new franchise? Like, what was the
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, you need to play other games to get ideas and see what works, see what doesn't work. I mean, if that is true that they don't play other games, their games are good for that reason. But you notice that they get dull. Like,
Actually, wait a second. I don't know if Nintendo doesn't play non-Nintendo games, because I do remember, I don't know if he played it, but I do remember that Shigeru Miyamoto, I think, famously said when he saw Nights into Dreams, like, I wish I'd made this.
I've
Well,
seen him
yeah.
playing
Which
other
is
games,
which is
too.
really
Like,
high
I've seen
praise, by the way.
him playing newer games as well. But
I think that was a colloquialism, like from a recent interview. It's just like they asked, a designer from Nintendo, like, hey, why haven't you done it like this game? And it's like, oh, I don't know, we don't play any other games. I think they just kind of said that because
Okay.
they didn't want whoever was asking them, like, they probably thought it was a jerky question or something like
Okay,
that.
fair
so
enough.
they were probably just like shrugging them off.
But either
Alright.
way, like I was gonna say, a lot of their games seem to get like Mario. Nothing wrong with Mario, but it's the same thing every single time, and they're all
Yeah.
great games. Don't get me wrong.
And well, they
but
do cool things with it, but it's
They
like, I
do.
mean, get to the end of the
They
level,
do.
save the princess, beat Bowser in the coop.
I don't know.
And I was
They've
surprised
done
with the new
quite a lot
Zelda.
of bit lately. I mean, like Super Mario 3D World is quite a different version of what
But that's
they've
just
done
like
with him
Super
in the
Mario
past.
3D Land.
Yeah, but that was what I'm trying to say is that was the innovation, and that was just like the
True.
big grown up version of that.
Yeah, no, I don't say they don't innovate, but I think like they innovate very slowly with those games, and even Zelda, like the new one,
It looks so good.
Breath of the Wind, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild.
Breath of the Wild. It looks amazing. I'm also though it's funny though because on one hand they're changing so much and that's awesome that they're actually adding so much to it, but on the other hand I'm wondering if it's too much at a time.
See, I think they did all of their testing in Link Between Worlds. I think it's going to steal a lot of the design philosophy from Link Between Worlds. I think that was their time to really innovate, and I think they're going to take a similar structure with this game because they got a lot of positive feedback about that game, and rightfully so. It's one of the best games I've ever played.
Yeah, my favorite Zelda game is Link to the Past, and here's Link to the Past 2. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Link Between Worlds is just a freaking joy to play. I absolutely love that game.
Yeah, I still need to play that, actually.
It was everything I wanted in a Zelda game that I didn't ask for.
Nice.
But yeah, I think they're going to take a lot from that because in a lot of ways, Skyward Sword seemed even more restrictive than
Skyward
Twilight
Sword.
Princess.
Skyward Sword. Oh no, yeah, sorry, no, never mind. I haven't played Skyward. I was thinking Twilight Princess because I was gonna say Twilight Princess was just Ocarina of Time. Like it was like too similar.
Twilight Princess is still my favorite console Zelda game. It's really great. I've played and beaten almost every Zelda game to begin with, but I've beaten every console one for sure except for 2. And I got to
I
the
haven't
very end of
played
that.
any of the Wii ones. Like I haven't played Twilight Princess, Skyward Sword, and what was the other one?
That was that for,
Link Between Worlds.
No, what was the other? There's another one for Wii or Wii U.
There's just
Link's
Wind Waker.
archery training. Like,
Oh, but either way, like I haven't played them. But going back to our previous conversation, one of the reasons why I didn't want to play Skyward Sword is because of the sword swiping thing. I know
that
it
was
part of
that
the
was
game.
my exact reason. Yep.
I know it was part of the game because like different enemies had weak points, so you had to kind of swipe it in certain directions. So, but at the same time,
It's a great game. You shouldn't ignore it. because
no,
of
I'm
the
not saying that.
story.
Like I want to play it, but it's one of those things that there's times when I want to sit down and play a game and not have to move an inch.
That's the thing. I've made this argument before, but like I really I don't want to have to flick my wrist every time I'm swinging a sword in a freaking Zelda game, and that's all you do. Like I think that No More Heroes handled it the right way, where you could just close your eyes and mash the A button and just do combos for days. And if you need to finish an enemy off, it'll be like swing the remote to the left once, and I'm like, I can do that.
And you don't have to be particularly accurate. At
No,
all.
yeah, my favorite is the throwing because the commands are always ridiculous, and you just kind of wave it and it happens, and you're like, all right.
Yeah, no, it was made just for you to have fun.
Pretty much, yeah. It's like,
doing
you want to
that,
swing the
yeah.
Wiimote now? Well, it's been a while. Yeah, I'll swing the Wiimote now. Like, with Zelda, you have to do it all the time, and, like, it's probably going to play better than freaking Soul Calibur Legends. Yes, I'm bringing that one up. But that game was a pain in the ass to play, because it was all just flailing my hand around all day, and it was just like, ugh, can I just play the game? So I just want to play the game. That's what... this takes us back to the beginning of our conversation, with, like, the new gimmicks. It's like, could you give me a real control style, too, though? Is there, like, a GameCube controller style? Is there, like, a not waving for days control style? I have buttons on this thing. I have lots of buttons. Can I use one of those?
Well, even though this is a fantastic discussion, I think we should move on to what you guys have been playing as well, just so we could get through us all.
Yeah, all
podcast
this.
Here.
I mean, not that all this was what you were doing, but I guess it came from that.
But this is the kind of discussion I want, but I should move on to both of you at some point. So, Lotus, what were you playing this time around?
Well, it's still the same stuff, although I'm getting toward the end. I've been playing Pirate Warriors 3 on the PS4, and I've beaten the story mode, and I'm working on trying to perfect the dream mode. So I'm moving along. I'm getting toward the end of that game. You can unlock some crazy characters to play as, including Shanks, which is, again, we've been over this last week, but you don't know who any of these characters are. But Shanks is like,
I do.
Shanks. I don't know no Shanks.
well, actually, you said you saw you saw very little of One Piece, so you actually have met Shanks, but he's a bigger deal than they let on in episode 1. So you could just play as him. Like, it's really cool, just stuff like that. Otherwise, now that it's this week. Pyro Jack Frost and we did the Let's Play on Danganronpa, and it's going online now. So we're already a few episodes into it. So we're at the time of this recording, we're still establishing the plot, and the killing game has not yet begun, but it's coming. It's coming really soon. We're recording this on a Sunday, and as a matter of fact, the very next day on Monday is when things start to kind of spiral out of control. So that'll be interesting really quickly.
And if you weren't aware of it, I know that. Sorry to interrupt, but you haven't beaten the second game yet. But
I have not.
Vice, you haven't either. The third part of the story is out. The anime's being released currently.
Yeah.
So,
that's the
just
thing.
So you both know.
Yeah, that's the thing. The sequel to Danganronpa 2 is anime only.
Actually, it's not just a sequel. That's interesting, and this is a thing that I've never seen done in anime before.
Mm-hmm.
There's technically 2 arcs to the Danganronpa 3 anime. The first is called the Despair arc, and it kind of shows you how the characters in 2 got to where they are.
Oh, okay.
And then at the same time there's the Future arc, which explains the events that happened after the second game. And what they're doing is the Despair arc airs on Mondays, and the Future arc airs on Thursdays.
That's
every
clever.
week.
So you watch 1 and 1, and then 2 and then 2?
You're
Correct.
kind of watching almost 2
Okay.
simultaneous anime series.
And I'm wondering, though, the reason why they do that is because they're kind of connected in a way. More so than just through the game and before and after the game.
I do want to see it, but I do want to beat 2 first.
That's the
Yeah,
thing,
no, definitely. I would, because these games are very, very story-based. I haven't started watching the anime yet, so I can't tell you how much spoilers there are or whatnot, but I definitely see that because they so heavily rely on this story, that you should definitely beat the second game first.
I'm on the second. I had just finished the second murder. Is where I'm at on the second.
Okay.
one.
Okay, and by the way, just full disclosure, by the way, to prevent any potential spoilers. Obviously, Pyro Jack Frost knows the entire game, but I've been playing a little bit of 2 with him, and we haven't even gotten to the first murder, so I know basically nothing.
Yeah, I'm still in the dark about the game's biggest secrets.
Sure.
For sure. There's a couple twists and turns, of course, but nothing concerning like the big questions I have.
Okay.
But there's some cool things about it that were introduced in between the first 2 murders that I found that were really neat, but I have no idea where it's even going, and I have some doubts as to the premise of the game. Like, it just doesn't seem quite right to me.
Sure.
Like, I think the game is being tricky. So I know you just laughed there, so maybe I'm touching something, but I have no idea. But I don't know. I just I'm not spoiling anything here because it's a guess from a very limited amount of information. But I think that it's a simulation or something, and I told you that.
Yeah, you told me over the phone at one point. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that because don't say anything, Pyro, but I think
I'm keeping myself quiet on purpose.
Yeah.
there are a number of things that make me think that, and it has pixelated graphics even more so than the first one, and there's like a lot of pixelation around a lot of different artistic features in the game, and there's also a point where you actually play a game about a murder in the game.
Oh, that's amusing.
And so it apparently mirrors a real one that happened in the real world.
Oh, that makes me think of that No Name game for the DS.
Yeah, no, it's similar to that in style.
That's clever.
Nameless game.
Excuse me.
Nanashi no Game. For DS, which is a horror game that we tried out.
Yeah, that one has a really interesting premise because you're playing like a very basic looking RPG where it's like you go to the town, like hello, how are you, and then you start playing like stuff in the real world, and like the more you advance in the plot, the more kind of like dark the game within the game starts getting, and you're kind of like, I think I see where this is going, because it plays off like The Ring, where it's
it's like
when
a
you get
video
the phone
game version of The Ring.
Yeah, you watch the movie and you die in 7 days. This is like you play the game and I guess you die in 7 days or something. But like as the days go by, like with The Ring, you start seeing stuff and like getting hints of ghosts. And here, like the game gets twisted, and like I barely got anywhere in it. Or actually, you were playing, so we barely got anywhere in it. But
it was still cool.
You could tell, yeah, you could tell that this is how things are going. It's gonna get a little messed up.
For sure.
Now, just to be brief here, like when it comes down to it, what did you do today? I mean, you just talked a little bit about Tetris DS. Like I basically gave my spiel about what I'm doing. I'm very like, we said this last week, but you play all sorts of stuff. I play one game until I'm done with it. So it's our third podcast, and I'm still playing freaking Dynasty Warriors One Piece Edition. So like that's not the most exciting thing. Like I would like to play JoJo Eyes of Heaven though. I'm looking forward to that. It's got quite an eclectic cast.
I just played. The only things I had time to play this week were like multiplayer games with my friends. I didn't really get that's why I mentioned them.
But I mean, even so, I
didn't have enough time to start a brand new game or even go more in P3P yet.
Sure,
so.
but I mean, even so, you're like, oh well, I played this today, even for multiplayer reasons, because I'm not really a multiplayer guy. So like, once I get started with the game, unless it's really short, you're going to get the same answer from me a bunch of times in a row.
Sure.
Unless it's like, I felt like playing Streets of Rage today and I beat it. Unless it's like that, then that's just kind of how it's going to be. Like, God forbid I'm playing Yakuza or like an RPG, because that's going to be months.
Oh, one more quick thing. I forgot another game that I played.
Oh, here it comes.
It was... we kind of played it for the lulz because it was in my backpack at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But I played Tingle's Balloon Fight.
Oh, that's right. I was there when you got that at MagFest.
The Japanese Club Nintendo exclusive.
Yeah, it's just Balloon Fight with Tingle. So if you know Balloon Fight, you know that game, but it's just cool for that reason.
Well, it does have DS download play, so we played it.
Oh, that's cool.
So one of you plays as Pink Tingle.
Yes.
Which is even funnier to me. And that was fun, but it gets boring after a little while.
Tingle versus Pink Tingle. Place your bets.
PinkTingle.com.
Now I want to play Now I want to play Pink Tingle's rupee adventure games.
I think Pink Tingle actually has a name, because I think Pink Tingle was in
Please,
Wind
for the love
Waker.
of God, tell me it's like Pingle or something.
I was just gonna say Pingle.
Well, there's like 4 Tingles in Wind Waker, I think, right?
Not in Wind Waker, unless it's on the GBA functionality. Wind Waker just has the one.
Well, I think don't you have to visit a bunch of Tingles in that?
Well, no, he's just around. He's always around. It's like Majora's Mask. You find him in all sorts of locations, and he sells you maps.
Okay, I don't
like
know where I got
there
that
is a
from.
little mini game you could play with Tingle on the GBA, but I've never done that. So if you're talking about that, then I don't know. But in the main game, it's just Tingle.
Okay, fair enough. What have you been playing, Pyro?
I've been playing a few games. I've been kind of busy, but in terms of actual games, I've been playing Tokyo Mirage Sessions, Sharp FE.
Oh, nice.
Oh yeah, how is
It's the new
that?
Persona-ish game. I like it. I think the whole idol stuff is kind of dumb, but also kind of silly and funny at the same time. It's hilarious because instead of your equipment screen, it's the wardrobe. Instead of your party, it's the casting.
Nice.
And like when you first start a new game, instead of saying new, it says debut.
No, by the way, about the idol stuff, is that a Persona thing specifically, or is
No,
that like a
it's-
Dancing All Night thing?
Neither. It's just a totally separate. Like this isn't related to the Persona series at all.
Okay.
It's just a game that they made in cooperation with the Fire Emblem people.
Okay.
So how
And-
do you feel about that censorship? That's the first thing I want to know.
Well, honestly, I really don't care. I
Neither
mean,
do
they
I.
did take some somewhat, I guess you could say, important parts out of it, but at the same time, it didn't make the game worse of a game.
Sure.
And honestly, if I never went on the internet and knew that they took anything out, I probably wouldn't have even known. So it's not a big deal. But no, the game itself is really good, and it's a great game. That's all I really have to say about it. I mean, the Persona series are my favorite series. Is my favorite series of all time. So the whole battle system is harkening back to that, and the uh, the way that they incorporated Fire Emblem into it was pretty clever. Like the personas, I guess you could say, if we're comparing it like that, are Fire Emblem characters.
Oh, that's how that works.
Yeah, and I mean each character has their own persona. They can't switch them, but it's really cool, and they've really. It's a. I guess what I'm trying to say is when I heard that they were going to collaborate, Fire Emblem and Mega 10, I was thinking it was going to be a strategy RPG like Fire Emblem was, with some Persona type or some Mega 10 type parts to it. I did not expect it to be like a completely new series and gone the way it did, and I'm kind of glad that it came out the way it did.
That actually is pretty
Other than
cool.
that, though, I've been playing Pokemon Go.
Nice. Oh, by the way, guys, just real quick, I was right. There are 4 Tingles in Wind Waker.
Really?
Yeah, they're at Tingle Tower, operating his tower.
Huh.
There's Ankle, the faded purple one, which I guess you could say is pink.
I don't remember this at all. Is this in like the HD version? Because I don't remember this in the GameCube.
Yeah, they're in both versions.
Really?
I haven't really even played through the HD version,
Well,
and I know about
what's
this.
Tingle Tower then?
It's his island that you go to in the middle of the ocean. when you
Okay,
first
I
beat
mean,
him.
on one hand, I played this game when it came out, and then never again. But at the same time, you'd think I remember that. Like I have, like this doesn't even ring a bell for me.
Yeah, there's Ankle, the faded purple one. There's Knuckle, the light blue one, and David Jr., the white one.
That's
David
amazing.
Jr.
Yeah, he's not technically one of Tingle's brothers, but apparently he just hangs out with them.
He wants to be like them.
That's
Everyone wants to
amazing.
be like Tingle.
But anyway, I'm sorry I
Wow, you just
interrupted
blew
you,
my
Pyro.
mind.
This is important information.
But no, otherwise, I'm basically the same as Lotus Prince in the sense that I pick up a game and I keep playing it. And I just started a new job 2 weeks ago, so it's been really tough for me to sit down and game a lot. But I've been trudging through Tokyo Mirage sessions currently.
Actually, I'm curious because a couple times ago, when I was at your place when we were trying to record a little bit of Danganronpa 2, you had started Hyper Light Drifter, and we took little turns with that. Did you ever finish that?
No, I played a little bit more afterwards, but
It's a hard game.
It was
First
fun.
of all,
We beat
yes.
2 of the bosses.
yeah, it is a hard game. But the one problem that I always have is I'll pick up a game and I'll get halfway through it and I'll be like, oh, this is another new game that I really want to play.
Yeah,
Oh,
I get
that's
distracted
the
too.
Vice
game.
problem.
Yeah.
See, with me, I don't have that problem, but instead the problem is, oh man, when am I going to be able to play that game? So I just get like,
Yeah, you never move on. That's
yeah,
that's
like
your issue.
so like I will finish what I'm playing, but at the meantime, there's a bunch of cool games where people are like, have you looked into this one yet? And I'm like, no. And they're like, there's like 5 brand new AAA titles, and everyone's like, oh, you had to have played this by now. Nope.
I have to play 20 Fire Emblem games before and 40 Shin Megami Tensei games before I get to Tokyo Mirage Session.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, oh, well, Lotus, if you're not playing this new super cool game, then what could you possibly be playing? And it's like, Clock Tower on the PS1? Like, really?
No, I totally get it. I wanted to quick ask you, Pyro, what is the battle system like in Tokyo Mirage Sessions? I've never gotten a definitive answer on.
So the battle system works. It's kind of like the Persona games in the sense that every enemy has a weak point, or they have weaknesses, and you want to hit them. But the way that it works is instead of I believe in the Mega 10, in the original Mega 10 games, or I guess Nocturne and the one for the DS, the 3DS, the way that it works is you have a certain number of actions per turn, and whenever you hit an enemy's weakness, you basically get an additional action to use. But if you hit them at like something they're strong against,
Persona 3 is like that.
kind of, yeah. And then if you hit them in something that they're strong against, you lose 2 actions. So it's a give take in that sense. Whereas in Persona 3 and 4, it worked more where if you hit someone's weakness, they go down, and if all the enemies go down, then you get a special attack to do more damage to all of them. So in this game, the way it works is if you hit an enemy's weakness, you have what are called session skills. So character A might hit an enemy's weakness that's electric, and then character B might have a session skill that says if someone uses electric, I'm going to use a slash attack. And then character C might say, well, if someone uses a slash attack, I'm going to attack with fire. And they have all these different skills, and the computer is supposed to pick the best session for that. But basically, if you hit enemy's weakness, then the other party members could act at the same turn to to chain in that way. So it would go electric slash fire.
Is it a tactics game, kind of like Fire Emblem, or is it more like a
No, it's a regular
game?
RPG.
Oh,
Where
okay.
Each character goes one at a time. They're all in like an arena kind of area, and you pick an action, they go, then the next person goes. But the system it has a kind of bar along the top to show where everyone goes in turn order, so you can kind of see who's next and who's next in the next round and stuff like that.
I'm just wondering how they incorporated the Fire Emblemness to it, and I guess it's just by characters then.
Two ways. One is just by characters. Two, it's like the bosses and the players' stands, if you want to relate it to JoJo.
Yes.
Because I knew that Lotus Prince would like that.
What is this? You're the one making the reference now? Like, I've been ruining our whole Danganronpa Let's Play by just doing that and distracting you, and now this time you're like, hey, remember that time?
But yeah, so those are based on Fire Emblem characters. The other addition is, in Persona, basically the only types of moves were like, let's say, fire, ice, lightning, force, light, dark, and then like pierce, slash, and something else. Whereas in this game, instead of those physical acts, it's sword, lance, axe, and bow, which are very much
that's very Fire Emblem.
Yeah, so it's really those and the bosses and the main characters' personas that are really the only things that I've seen so far that are Fire Emblem related.
Okay.
And then on the other hand, though, the only things that you could say compared to Mega 10 is like the battle system and the weakness system. Other than that, it's a completely new game.
Gotcha.
That's pretty cool.
I was just curious because I thought maybe that it might have been a tactical game. I own the game, but you know me, I'm not going to get to it for a while. So
no, it's not tactics at all, really.
Okay. I know I'm probably wrong in this, but like I don't like tactical games as much as regular traditional RPGs.
Same here. I used to love tactics games, and they just I can't. I don't
wear
have the
you
time
down.
first. Yeah, I don't have the
That
time.
was
first of
just
all,
the thing. I was
and
gonna
it
say
requires
like I
way
do
too much
like
micromanaging.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say like I do like the tactical games, but like then you're on like the 10th battle arena or whatever, and you're just like, oh man, like I think one of the big guilty parties of this one was, I don't know about the sequel, but like the first Project Cross Zone just throws enemies at you, and it's just like you think you're done, but then like 20 more spawn, and you're just like, oh my god, like I like the game, but I like, could I please, for the love of God, end the level?
I mean, I like tactical games well enough, but so many of them are so difficult that I don't feel like spending like 4 days on one map.
Yeah, and the stakes are super high too, like especially in Fire Emblem, when a character
when
dies,
you,
he
like,
dies.
Yeah,
and like
the
you can keep
earlier
playing the
games, you
game,
don't
but you
even-
don't. What?
The earlier games, they don't even give you the option of like not losing your characters. So
Yeah, I actually recently played the new game. I forget which one I played, but
Fates.
Fates, but I forget which side of
Birthright,
Fates I
probably.
played. Whatever the one with the more Japanese aesthetics was. That's the one that
Conquest.
I played.
Conquest, probably.
Yeah. No, it's Birthright.
It was Birthright.
Conquest is the medieval one.
Oh, excuse me. Okay.
And it was funny because I was playing that alongside one of my students was playing Conquest, and he was really into it. But every day I would complain about how the story is so dumb. And
I remember you mentioned that.
It is really dumb, but I mean, hopefully I don't piss any people
Well,
off.
let's see if we can kind of curb some of the ire here. The story itself is dumb, or specific aspects of it? Because I remember you told me it turns into really generic anime series stuff, like I'm fighting for friendship, and we got like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I guess it's just a little bit.
So is it like the plot, or like how it's executed?
It's the plot.
It actually is the plot.
I guess it's the plot in the sense that it's things I've seen before.
Okay.
And it's just the way they do it are very eye-rolly in a way.
Okay.
Yeah,
But
it's very much rote anime tropes.
which is
and stuff
surprising
like that.
because I don't find Awakening was the same in the story. But either way, um, after like because the story didn't really draw me at all, I was really much more drawing myself to the gameplay. But
Mhm.
even then, whether or not it was easy because of the whole you can't lose characters thing that I did or whatever, but it just the gameplay didn't feel fun anymore, and I was just beating it to beat it.
Mhm.
And I used to really like RPGs. Like I loved the Disgaea games. I loved Final Fantasy Tactics back in the day when I had time. But nowadays, it's just there's so much micromanaging, so many things you have to think about, plan out. I know they're tactical games for that reason, but I don't have the time. And it's like if things go bad in a mission, you're just like I don't want to do this anymore.
That's the thing. The stakes are super high, and if you make a critical mistake, like
You got to start over.
yeah, you
basically.
lost a lot of time.
Whereas RPGs, it could be the same way, but the battles are so much shorter, except for bosses, and it's not as much at stake if you lose.
Well, that's the thing. You're fighting a dude instead of mapping out an entire war strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah,
the only time I think you really get punished for that hardcore in traditional RPGs would be like, actually, ironically, going back to the Persona games, especially if you're going into boss fights blind. Like I
Yeah, but at
remember
the same
hearing
time-
descriptions that those fights can take 30-40 minutes if you know what you're doing.
Yeah, but at the same time, one,
I mean, it's still
they
not
warn
hours, to be
you-
fair.
They warn you usually before bosses. At
Okay.
least the more recent games, they say like you feel a strong presence. Are you sure you want to continue? Kind of thing. So you're like, all right, I'm gonna go save and go
Okay.
back. But even then, the thing I find with the Persona games and the Mega 10 games in general is, yeah, the bosses can be difficult, but if you go into it the first time having no idea what to do, that's basically your first battle against them is throwaway. You go to see what moves they're going to use, what moves they're weak against, and then you die. And then you go
Okay.
back with a strategy.
That's fair enough.
Whereas, and then that doesn't take that long in a way. Well,
Yeah, in
the
Fire
battle
Emblem you
might,
cannot possibly do that.
But those are just the bosses too. Whereas in like a tactical game, like every single battle almost is like that.
Yeah, even if you make like a stupid mistake or like an enemy pulls a move you didn't see coming, then that can like just throw off your entire game, literally.
Like the worst thing that I have in Tokyo Mirage Sessions is I just got to a new area. Excuse me, and there are some enemies that were way stronger than I was ready for, and I died. And the problem was I didn't save it enough. So it's funny because modern gaming has gotten me in some bad habits where it like auto saves a lot, whereas in this game
Oh.
it doesn't. So there was one night where I died over and over again, getting the same distance, kept forgetting to save because I'm so used to it, and I'm just like, I'm done for the night. I had to take a break with this. But yeah, it's really, if you can remember to save, then it's really not that big of a deal.
Sure.
I getting back to tactics games, I like more forgiving ones. Like I used to really love playing Shining Force, the Shining Force series, because those games are challenging, but they're not ridiculous. They're not like nuts. And I wish more games would be like that, but like all the really good tactical games tend to be like really really hard games. Like Tactics Ogre, or those games are really difficult. Like the Final Fantasy Tactics games are pretty difficult.
Yeah, I remember
I remember
seeing Ogre Battle 64, and you can get wrecked in that game.
I remember the Game Boy Advance Tactics Ogre I might have played, but either way, like I was having a lot of fun with it. And then I got to one battle where I don't know if I was underleveled in addition to the special parts about the mission, but you're supposed to be conquering a castle. But the way that game worked is they actually cared about gravity in the sense that if the higher up archers are, the more damage the arrows will do.
Oh, wow.
And basically the whole rampart is filled with archers. Not filled, I'm exaggerating, but it was a mix of me being underleveled and me coming on the bottom of a castle. I'm just like, the archers are killing me in almost one hit, and I'm just like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do here.
That's
And
ridiculous.
I never got past that because of that reason.
Oh yeah, you were supposed to use grenades.
Yeah, perfect. Get your Warcraft 2 goblin sappers out there and just bust down the foundation.
Yeah, I mean, like those games just like irk my life because like they could be so good for a lot of audiences. Like they could just put a hard mode for the people that are hardcore. Like I understand you need to satisfy those people, but like
Well, yeah, I mean,
also-
you do what the new Fire Emblem did, where like, well, they
Yeah.
put an easy mode on. Like, do you
This
not
kinda
want
goes
to
back
lose your
to-
entire game? Like, here, easy mode. Like, all right.
One feeling I've always had, and this kind of harkens back to earlier in the conversation with giving the players options. I know that I'm going to make some people angry by saying this, but I have never been very like I've never cared about what difficulty I beat a game on.
Yeah, neither do
Um,
I.
and I know that some people very much care, like, oh, I beat the game on hard, or like this game is hard, and that's the part of it. But I don't see why you can't give players options. You should. I mean, I feel like you'd get more people to play if they knew that, hey, I could play for the story and play it on easy mode, or I can play it how it was meant to be played, quote unquote, which was hard mode or really hard mode or whatever, and do it that way. I mean, I understand that some games have that sort of feeling to it already. Like I know the Dark Souls games have been meant to be hard in a way.
Yeah, I was going to mention that.
But if like the first game they made, they gave the player the option of playing it on an easier mode, I wonder if they would have had a lot more people to play that game. The thing is, it's funny though, because I always find it hilarious when people argue about, oh, you played the game on easy, you didn't really beat the game. It's like, well, why do you care how I'm playing a game?
Actually, speaking of which, I actually received a YouTube comment once, not on my channel, but someone else's. I was posting somewhere else. It was amazing. Someone said that like I didn't get the true Dark Souls 1 experience because I wasn't playing it online. I was keeping it offline because I didn't want players invading me or whatever.
Whatever.
Mhm.
I platinumed that goddamn game. Like, at that point, I don't think you could tell me I didn't really play Dark Souls. Now, did I play all of its functionality? No, I didn't. But like, for God's sake, dude, like I perfected the game. What do you want from me?
Yeah, I don't know. I think that, like, the way I see it is like, as long as it doesn't affect the ending of the game, because I don't want like some scrub like, oh, you need to play it on a harder mode to get the true ending. Like,
Yeah.
then,
That's
then
the
it's
thing I
just
think-
wasting my time.
My
Yeah.
my favorite is Castlevania 64 because some games end up where they cut you off after a few levels, but it's like, Streets of Rage 3. How long were you really playing before you got to the end and a freaking Streets of Rage beat 'em up? But Castlevania 64, you're in it to win it, man. You're like in Dracula's castle, like maybe I forgot if it was a third or halfway through the game, and then you go up an elevator and it's like, whoops, like this is where the game stops on easy, and it's like, you let me play for too long before telling me this. Like, you basically trolled me with your easy mode. Like, why do you even have an when easy mode literally like? I keep cutting myself off. Streets of Rage 3's easy mode gives you a different ending. Like, it's like, here's the easy mode's ending.
It didn't even exist in Japan, by the way.
Oh,
it
really?
was
Well,
something
well,
they even put on the U.S. version.
Well, Streets of Rage 3 changed a
just
lot
to
versus
troll
bare
you.
knuckle, but in brief, my point is that you got something special for beating easy mode, but then it's like, but seriously, play it on the harder difficulties. But Castlevania 64 just like gives you a portion of the game and then it cuts you off, and it's just like, nope, play it on normal. Like, that is such a dick move.
Yeah, and it's it annoys me too.
Like
I'm gonna say.
sometimes you beat a boss and it's like, oh, it wasn't the final boss, but like you got some degree of closure. But Castlevania 64 really just cuts you off. It's just so
a
mean.
game that kind of does that well is I don't know if you guys have played Jamestown.
No.
It's a shmup.
Yes, I
Um,
have.
Okay, so Jamestown is kind of neat, and it has the option of playing up to 4 players, and it's a shmup, so it's kind of cool that way. But you actually, to progress, you need to keep playing it on different difficulties.
That's clever.
You could start off by playing the first level, but all the rest of the levels will be locked out. But then in order to progress, you need to beat it on the next difficulty and unlock the next one, and then you need to beat that on the next 2 difficulties, and then you need to beat that on the next 2 difficulties. And so, like, the very last level is just on hard. Like,
But by that point, I guess you're kind of ready for hard anyway.
well, they've been working up your skill level.
Yeah, it's not like, I'm gonna try playing this game on hard, and you get your ass kicked in level 1, and you're like, nope, not for me. Like, they're actually kind of pushing you that direction.
And I don't think the earlier stages you need to beat it on hard, or
Sure.
or maybe maybe you do. I'm not sure, but at least there's kind of an incentive to do it that way. But I don't know. They don't need to murder me while I'm trying to play this game. Just give me a balanced difficulty that's hard enough. But come on.
Well, I remember, like, you said on this podcast you weren't much, like, you didn't care much about difficulty on games, but I do remember you saying, like, it's not going to, like, make or break the game for you, but, like, you tend to feel that normal is the intended difficulty, because hard is just, like, the enemies have more HP and hurt more. It's just like, all right. Like I remember watching Mike Cobb do his speed runs of God Hand, and one of his speed runs was on normal mode because he's like, well, with hard mode, I'm literally playing the exact same way. It's just that things take longer to kill because they have more HP. So like, whatever. Let's just get along with the game, shall we? Whereas easy mode, it can feel like if it like some games make easy mode too easy, so
Yeah.
it just feels like a watered down product where like you punch a dude and he's dead, and it's like, well, okay.
Well, I tend to prefer games that like put a lot of thought into each mode like that.
That's the
like
thing.
I'm hardly ever gonna play a game on easy unless it's like unless it's a Fire Emblem game. I'm gonna play that on easy. Screw it.
Yeah.
Because those games are way too hard to begin with. So
Mhm.
I have no shame in doing that. But like most games, I'm not gonna play on easy just because I want the normal experience, unless it's just insane. And
Yeah.
I think the Fire Emblem's the only series in which is that hard.
And by the way,
really-
regarding when you said
oh, Shin Megami Tensei.
Yeah, those will
4,
kick your ass.
I'll play that on easy because fuck that.
but like no, but regarding what you said
Yeah.
about putting effort into difficulty levels, I don't know if I'm just coincidentally thinking about this because we talked about last week how you beat Silent Hill 3, but Silent Hill, I forgot about 1, but certainly 2 and 3, you can select the action difficulty, which is the basic gameplay, and you can also select the riddle difficulty. So maybe you want to play on the game on hard mode, but with really easy riddles because you just want to get through this. Or maybe the game's hard for you, so you want to play the game on easy, but you want to take time to intellectualize the riddles, so you can do the riddles on hard mode. I always thought that was kind of cool.
I think that's kind of cool. That kind of goes after the System Shock way of like.
Oh,
like
System
being
Shock
able to-
1 had like
yeah,
super. Yeah, System Shock 1 had
super
like.
customizable.
Yeah, it actually really was. You can like adjust the difficulty of like the cyber hacking stuff, or even remove them. I think. You can adjust the difficulty of the basic gameplay, where Super Easy has just no enemies because the game's hard enough to play as it is, and the hardest difficulty was like you must beat the game in X amount of hours or less. It just like put like a time limit on the entire game, which is terrifying for System Shock 1 if you're
Yeah,
playing for the
don't
first
do
time.
that. Don't do that.
Yeah, like for pros only. Like the game's just. I put up a video of this of comparing the System Shock 1 first area to the remake being made by Night Dive, but the enhanced edition makes the game playable, but with the original controls, even with 0 enemies, good luck beating that game in under X hours if it's your first time. That game is the controls themselves will add like 2 hours to your gameplay time because you don't know what you're doing.
Well, getting back to that, on Silent Hill, I don't really think that the puzzles are even really necessary in those games. I know, I think they're just kind of there to slow you down.
No, I take it the opposite way. Not to slow you down, but to give you downtime. Like when you're in the damn hospital, like let me breathe over this puzzle for a little while.
Yeah, I think they're all right, but I mainly play those games because they're kind of like a movie.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah,
And Silent Hill 4 just like almost dropped the puzzles entirely.
I mean, I kind of just like looking at the environments, listening to the haunting soundtrack and the dialogue and the story and how that unfolds, and it's a lot. That part of the experience makes it worth it, but the combat is almost always garbage, and like it's just not fun. It just isn't. And I
know what you
recognize that going into the game, so it's not like it's a super complaint for me. So like,
Yeah,
I knew what I was
by
getting into.
the way, speaking of which, this actually raises a point. This might sound weird, but I am of the opinion that a game does not need to be fun in order to be enjoyable. And like Silent Hill is a perfect example. Like, do you ever play Silent Hill 2 or 3 and go like, "Wow, this is so much fun"? Like, no, you feel like crap the entire time. And like everything is stressful. Like I was playing Corpse Party. That game's literally making me cry, and the controls are really basic. You're just kind of moving around with your little Super Nintendo looking sprites or whatever. That is the antithesis of fun. But I feel that they're worth it for their experiences.
That's like I'll liken it to, let's say, a movie like Schindler's List. Schindler's List is a masterful movie.
Yeah,
It's a
nobody
great-
goes like, I'm gonna go to the movie. Like, I'm gonna go have fun at
You
the
don't
movies.
have a
like,
good time when you watch it.
no, and you're not trying to. You're trying to get a certain something from it. So with Silent Hill, like the combat sucking, you could argue maybe that could be improved, but like that's not gonna make the game like worth it, you know? Like you're there kind of to see the environments and the monsters and to get the revelations.
You can even make an argument that like it the combat being crappy is part of what makes the game like so heart pounding.
Yeah, no, I honestly do feel that way because like sometimes I mean, I've gotten the very valid argument. Why would you want crappy controls? But at the same time, like I don't want crappy controls. But at the same time, I was playing Dead Space. The later games kind of got to me, but the first game didn't scare me almost at all. And part of it is because the controls were so good. Like your aiming is amazing in that game. It's like Resident Evil.
Stomp. Oh my god.
No, not even the stomp. Like I'm doing like trick shots on enemies. I'm taking off limbs because you're actively supposed to. And when my guns are that awesome and the controls are that good to the point where I'm just clearing crowds away and keeping everything at bay by just picking off legs. Oh, that one's crawling. I could go for the other guy. Like it really takes a lot of like. Oh, you're just an engineer. What are you gonna do? You're not a proper soldier. Like this is bad. You're not trained for this. But like. No, dude, I'm beating the crap out of everything that comes my way in this horror scenario. It's just like, well, like in Silent Hill 2, the combat was garbage, but the monsters weren't trying that hard. In Silent Hill 3, the combat was not great, and the monsters would beat the crap out of you. So, like, that added the stress level to it. It could be frustrating because you have to button mash to stand up when you're knocked down, and that's just annoying. But if the controls were spectacular, you'd be kind of sleepwalking your way through all the enemies anyway. So it's like, I don't know. Like, I'm not advocating for crappy controls, but, like, I understand why. Like, you can argue they're not crappy because you're not supposed to be dominating.
It's intentionally bad.
Yeah.
And to a purpose.
Yeah, like, I want the game to be playable, and it is playable, but, like, you're just not good at swinging a maul that's too heavy for you. I'm sorry. That's how that would work.
Yeah, I get it. But I'm just kind of. Also, I don't think the puzzles in the harder difficulties are particularly fair.
No, the puzzles in the harder difficulties are stupid. Like I told you about this, but there's a puzzle. There's a puzzle in the hospital where, and I don't know this, but like you have to know the words to I don't even know if it's a poem or a song. That's how out of touch I am. Who shot Cock Robin? And like if you don't know that, then I don't know what to tell you. And then the infamous Shakespeare puzzle in the library where you had better have read these 5 Shakespeare plays and remembered how many people died in each, and even if you know that, it's still a riddle. So it's like, good lord, like I had a video, like I made a video like just for that, and I was taking like minutes to explain that puzzle. It was freaking insane.
Yeah, or it's like those old adventure games
I
where you
had
had to just pixel hunt or know that you want to mix
pixel hunting
the
isn't even
stick
fun
with the pen. Like I don't know.
Yeah, with Silent Hill 3, that puzzle was just really obtuse, but pixel hunting, I would argue, is just straight up bad game design. Like you shouldn't have to click everywhere.
Ignoring pixel hunting, just old games where you had to basically know how the designer was thinking in terms of solving the puzzles.
Yeah, those are my favorite. Actually, here's a little plug here. Pushing Up Roses did a video specifically on that. I forgot if it was top 5 or top 10, but just moon logic puzzles in video games, and some of them are hilarious because like when you watch them being played out, like it's just, you've got to be kidding me. Like some of them are just absolutely absurd.
Absolutely. Well, I think we did some damage here, gentlemen. What do you think?
We certainly did a lot of podcasting today.
Well, as always, we'll be continuing with this. We're going to put these up almost immediately now, just for the good of the order, just so our fans know. We're going to put them up so that they're more timely because we tend to talk about stuff that did happen this week and things like that.
Yeah, with the first 2 podcasts, we recorded and then put them up a week later, like right after recording the next one. But by the time we do that, the listeners are getting week-old information. Not that we're being so topical or anything, but it's still, like, it's a little dissociative if you see comments about, oh, that thing you talked about from, like, a week ago. So I'm going to try to see if I can get this one up either tonight or maybe, like, in 1 or 2 days and try to keep it relatively timely and then kind of keep that schedule going. So like I said, we've been recording on Sundays. I might want to try putting this thing up on Mondays or Tuesdays just in case there's a night where I can't immediately turn it around the very Sunday night, you know. So I'll try to get, like, whenever this video, well, this podcast, this audio goes up, I'll try to have that be the day these go up.
Yeah, I think we kind of liked having the buffer there for a little bit, but
Yeah, the buffer's nice and convenient for us, but like it makes for a weird like dissociation regarding perception of what we were talking about because it's no longer timely.
Yeah, and as always, we do want feedback. So I mean, we do use our what we're playing as jumping off points, but we do kind of want this random structure. But please do give us feedback on if you like this or not, because I think the tangents are what make our discussions fun.
Yeah, so far we haven't gotten 1,000 comments or anything, but so far the comments I've seen have been positive. Some of them are like, oh, maybe you should do a little more focus, and a bunch of them are like, oh, I actually appreciate the random tangents or whatever, and like especially with especially with podcast 2 and this one, not so much the first one, we've been sticking to like the video game stuff, and I got one comment about that, like, what, a gaming podcast that actually talks about games, how novel, like like surprisingly hard to come by. So that was that was kind of cool. But yeah, and not to mention putting the podcast up quickly also actually gives us more of an ability to actually respond to feedback, because having a buffer is nice, but we also need to be able to receive the feedback before recording the next one. Otherwise, it looks kind of disingenuous, like we're not paying attention.
Yeah, and I also want to add that while it's going to be video game focused for the most part, because that's just what our interest is, I do want to enter in more stuff as times go on, but that's also going to shift with what we're actually doing at the time.
Of course.
We are adults and we are human beings, so we only have so much time to dedicate to our interests.
That is true. Like, even though I put up a Let's Play channel, like, don't think that I record every day and then upload that day. Like, Danganronpa's been done for like a couple of months because it took several months to record and edit, like, and I do have a job to worry about, and I'm not just sitting at home all day like looking at my video game stuff, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I will be, we will be watching movies and reading and that kind of thing. We just haven't gotten to it probably this week, so don't be disappointed that we're always going to be talking about video games, because most of the time we will, because that's kind of like our number one hobby.
Yeah, but like, but even then, I mean, as was the case for even kind of this podcast, you were carrying a lot of it, because Pyrojack Frost and I are kind of like, I'm still playing Pyre Warriors 3, and you're still playing.
Well, I'm all over the place. So,
yeah,
like,
that's the thing.
In general, like I'm always
the
like reading something.
That's
like,
the thing, that the tangents are kind of like saving us from being like, well, haven't been playing anything new lately. What else?
I mean, that's just the way I am. I'm like, ooh, I want to read this, or ooh, I want to do that, or ooh, I want to watch this. Yeah. So, like, for instance, this week I'm going. I forget if I mentioned this on the podcast, but I'm actually preparing a presentation, a cinema studies presentation for Jaws.
Yeah,
did I mention that on air?
You mentioned that on the first one. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm actually going to be putting it together and presenting it to the librarian.
Nice.
Nice.
So I'll be doing essentially a class for adults on how to study certain movies, and I'm going to start with Jaws. And I think for the next one, if it's successful enough, I think it will be, I'm going to do Alien and then Aliens.
That's a good one.
I think they're all three of those movies are really, first of all, they're all popular. It'll get meat in the seats, for lack of a better term, and it'll get people to come. But they're also good movies to start critically analyzing. Because they're really fun to watch if you don't analyze them. They're really good as passive movies, but they're also really great as active studying those movies.
Sure.
And the movie process, what the process the filmmakers had to do to go through making those films is actually really interesting. So there's some historical stuff that I really want to include in that.
Nice.
So I will give you guys an update about how that goes on the next one, and I may even record my class on it.
Oh, that'd be
Oh,
rocking.
nice.
I'd watch
So
that.
I would love to archive it. I'm going to put a PowerPoint together. So I would like to see if that's allowed at the library. But I would love to have an archive of the classes that I have.
Sure.
And I could even use that as like like a resume kind of builder
Oh, for sure.
too. So I would love to do that, and I want to see what you guys think of that.
Absolutely.
And then we'll go from there as well on that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So, Pyro, will you be joining us most weeks from now on?
I'm gonna try to.
Okay, we would love to have you back, and we are also, with that having said, I love having multiple people on here. I think it's a good thing, and it also keeps us in touch.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's also a good thing. So, having said that, tell us what you think, guys, and have a good week. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
See ya.